I walked in on my wife telling her friends she married down. No hesitation, no shame, just laughs and wine glasses clinking. I froze. My name had just come up. Then that line dropped like a weight in my chest. She's kidding, I told myself, but she wasn't. She doubled down. He's sweet, but come on. I could have done better. Something in me cracked. Not loudly. Quiet, like glass under pressure. I didn't walk in. I walked away. And from that moment on, I started planning something she'd never see coming. Stay till the end because what happens next will change everything. My name's Daniel, Dan to most. I'm 36 years old, live just outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, and I've been in IT system security for over a decade now. Pretty quiet life. I like it that way. I've always been the guy who stayed late to fix the servers no one else understood, who preferred logic over drama, peace over noise. I've never been flashy. I don't drive anything expensive, don't wear name brands, don't take luxury vacations. But what I do well. Quietly. Consistently. That's how I built my life, steady and solid. I wasn't born into much. My mom passed when I was a kid and my dad raised me on a mechanic's paycheck. He taught me how to work with my hands, how to be dependable, and more importantly, how to treat people right. Respect was everything in our house. Earned, not demanded. I guess I carried that with me into adulthood. I don't lie. I don't cheat. I try not to make promises I can't keep. That's probably why I stayed faithful to one woman for over 10 years without ever once straying, even when things got tough. My daily routine was predictable, but I found comfort in that. Up early, black coffee, quick jog when I had the energy, then off to work. Evenings were for fixing things around the house, helping neighbors when they asked, and sitting down to dinner with my wife, Alicia. She's always been more ambitious than me. Stylish, social, the kind of person who draws attention just by walking into a room. I never minded it. In fact, I admired it. She made life brighter in ways I didn't know I needed back then. We met in college. I was finishing up my computer science degree, working nights at a campus tech help desk. She came in with a busted laptop and walked out with my number. At first, I didn't think I had a shot. She was polished, clever, quick with comebacks. Way out of my league, if I'm honest. But somehow she stuck around. Said she liked how grounded I was. Said I made her feel safe. That stuck with me. I bought our house with money I'd saved for almost 7 years. Nothing fancy. A 3-bedroom fixer-upper on a quiet street. But I poured my soul into that place. Weekends were spent ripping out old cabinets, replacing wiring, landscaping by hand. It was mine. Ours. A place we could build from. Every door I rehung. Every pipe I replaced felt like laying another stone in the life we were making. Looking back, I see now how much of myself I gave away in little pieces over the years. Not in some tragic way, but in that quiet, everyday way husbands do. You do it because you believe in what you're building together. You sacrifice, thinking you're both moving toward the same future. And maybe that's the part that stings the most. I wasn't just trying to be a good husband, I thought I was being one. I thought we had each other's backs, that we were still in this together. But there were signs, little cracks in the walls I didn't notice until the foundation had already shifted. The smiles that didn't reach her eyes, the compliments that turned into comparisons. And now looking back, I can see exactly where it started to change. But back then I still believed I was the lucky one. It didn't happen overnight. That's the part that messes with your head later. You want to believe betrayal comes with a bang, some dramatic shift you can point to. But no, it comes slow, quiet. It sneaks in through small cracks in the routine until one day everything feels different and you can't remember when it started. I think the first thing that felt off was how Alicia started pulling away from our routines. At first it was little stuff. She'd stop waiting for me to eat dinner, said she was too hungry to wait. Then she started working late more often, but never at the office. Always at networking events or client dinners. I believed her. She's in real estate. It made sense. Until it didn't. Because when I offered to come along to one of those events, just to support her, she told me it was better if she flew solo. There were other things too. She changed her phone password. I didn't ask. I never had a reason to snoop. But it was new. She used to leave it open, face up, on the counter. Then it started living in her purse, zipped shut. She stopped talking about her day. Conversations that used to be fluid became flat. "How was your showing?" I'd ask. "Fine," she'd say. Then nothing more. Just scrolling, or a show in the background, or a glass of wine between us like a wall. One night she came home in a new dress. Black, tight, nothing like the practical workwear she usually wore to listings. I asked about it, and she said it was a gift from a client. Shrugged it off like it was normal. I didn't press. I wanted to trust her. I told myself she was just tired, stressed, that her job was just changing her mood. But in my gut, I knew something was off. Then came the financial stuff. I manage most of our accounts, I always have. I'm good with numbers, I automate what I can, and we've never lived beyond our means. But I started noticing little gaps. Charges to boutiques she never mentioned. Large ATM withdrawals with no receipts. I asked her once if she was okay, if she needed help managing anything. She snapped, said I was being controlling, said she earned her own money and didn't need me tracking her every move. That conversation stuck with me, because I wasn't accusing her of anything. I was trying to help, but she treated it like an attack. Around that time, she started spending more weekends away. "Girls' trips," she'd say. "Just some time. To reset." I supported it. We all need space sometimes, but she always came back different, lighter, more distant. It wasn't just space she was getting, it was something else. I didn't know what, but it was pulling her further from me. I remember checking our shared calendar one day, something we used for years to stay in sync. Her entries had disappeared. Mine were still there, but hers, gone. Like she was deliberately removing herself from anything shared. I didn't realize it then, but that was when she started rewriting the story. Quietly, piece by piece, removing me from the picture while still smiling at me across the dinner table. That kind of slow erosion, it's dangerous, because it gives you just enough normal to doubt your instincts. But my instincts were right. I just didn't know how right yet. It happened on a Thursday. I remember because Thursdays were usually quiet. Alicia had said she'd be working, late again. Something about a luxury property staging on the other side of town. I didn't question it. I'd long stopped asking for details. But that evening, I forgot my key fob at home. It was stupid, really. I was halfway to work when I realized, and since Alicia would be out, I turned around to grab it. That decision changed everything. When I walked in, the house wasn't empty like I expected. I heard voices, laughter, soft and muted, but distinct. I paused in the hallway, thought maybe the TV was on, but then I heard my name. "Dan?" "He's harmless," Alicia said, her voice casual, almost bored. "Honestly, I married down, but it works for me. He doesn't ask questions, pays the bills, stays in his lane." I didn't move. Couldn't. My mouth went dry. My hands just hung by my sides. I was stuck in this surreal moment where your body doesn't quite believe what it's hearing. Another woman responded, laughing, then saying something like, "Girl, you did what you had to. Smart. A soft guy's a safe guy." There was more, but I stopped listening. My ears were ringing. You know that feeling when your brain tries to block out trauma in real time? That was it. I backed away quietly and left the house. I didn't slam the door, I didn't yell, I just walked out like a ghost. Numb, hollow, a spectator in my own life. I sat in my car for maybe an hour. I don't even remember driving anywhere, just sitting there, gripping the steering wheel like it could hold me together. My mind kept replaying her voice, how flat it sounded, how deliberate, not like a slip-up, not like a joke, but like a truth she'd been living in for a while. Over the next few days, I didn't say a word. I went to work, came home, ate quietly, slept next to her. She had no idea I'd heard anything, and I needed it that way, because what started in that moment of betrayal quickly became something else. I needed to know the full truth, and I wasn't going to get it by confronting her. I was going to dig it out, one lie at a time. I started with our shared cloud account. Years ago, we'd linked our devices to backup photos automatically, one of those just-in-case things. She probably forgot. I hadn't. What I found, they're punched harder than her words ever could. Photos, taken in cities I hadn't visited with timestamps matching the so-called girls' weekends. One from Charleston dated 2 weeks prior. She was in a hotel room mirror, not wearing her wedding ring, her phone visible in the background. And next to her, a man's arm. Not mine. I zoomed in on the reflection in the window behind her. His face was partially visible. I recognized him. His name was Carter. He was a mortgage broker Alicia had worked with before. I'd met him once, maybe twice. The kind of guy who wore tailored shirts with the sleeves rolled up just right. The kind of guy who looked like he knew people liked looking at him. I wasn't done. I pulled our joint credit card statements for the last 8 months and matched them against her travel history. She'd used the card to book hotels under her name, but often paid in cash once she arrived. ATM withdrawals at odd hours. Designer purchases I'd never seen her wear. I printed every transaction, highlighted dates, made copies. I wasn't building a case, I was confirming a reality. Every piece added weight to the betrayal. The final crack came when I accessed her laptop. She'd left it unlocked one evening, while she showered. There, in her email drafts folder, was a message she hadn't sent yet, at least not from that account. It read, "Dan's still clueless. I think I'll tell him I need space soon. Maybe say we've grown apart. Should buy me time to figure things out with you." That "you" was Carter. That night I stared at my ceiling for hours. Sleep was out of the question. My brain was doing math with my life. 13 years together, 10 married, 1 house, shared finances, no kids, thank God. But everything else? Twisted. She didn't just cheat. She planned to discard me. Slowly, strategically. Like I was a phase she was wrapping up, an old job, a tired apartment lease. I wasn't a person anymore. I was a convenience she'd outgrown. And yet, she still smiled at me across the table. The next morning, still kissed me on the cheek, still told me to have a good day. It's funny. People think betrayal is loud, explosive. But in reality, it's quiet. It happens in small, cold silences, and it changes you in a way you never fully come back from. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I went to work. And that's when I started, designing something she wouldn't see coming. Not revenge driven by rage, no, something sharper, colder. A plan. I didn't burn the house down. I didn't confront her with fists pounding on the table. That's not who I am, and honestly, that's not how you win. You don't win by exploding. You win by staying quiet long enough for them to hang themselves with the rope they didn't. No, they were holding. The plan started the day after I read that email. I didn't sleep, but I worked. At first, just gathering data, screenshots, bank statements, travel receipts. Every piece of evidence had to be time-stamped, cataloged, and backed up. I created a separate digital archive, encrypted it, and stored it off the cloud just in case. Working in cybersecurity has its perks. I know how to cover my tracks, how to track others, and how to build systems that don't leave fingerprints. Phase 1 was information. Phase 2 was positioning. I made an appointment with a divorce attorney the following week. Quiet office. No flashy signs. I paid in cash, asked all the questions I needed, and made one thing very clear. I wanted a clean break. No scandal, no emotional theatrics, just strategy. My lawyer, Miriam, was blunt, smart, and precise. She explained that in North Carolina, infidelity can have legal weight if you can prove it. That opened doors, spousal support, asset distribution, even potential damages through an alienation of affection lawsuit. Yes, that's a real thing here. I took notes. Lots of them. I also had to get ahead financially. We had one joint savings account and a mortgage in both our names. I rerouted my paycheck into a new private account. Legally, I was allowed to, especially once divorce discussions began. I made sure every dollar I moved had a paper trail. The last thing I needed was for Alicia to turn around and accuse me of financial manipulation. No. Every step had to be legal, defensible, surgical. Then came phase 3, setting the trap. I told her I wanted to plan a trip for us, sometime, to reconnect, maybe get away from the stress of work. She seemed surprised, maybe even guilty. But she agreed. That was important. I needed her to feel secure, to believe I still hadn't caught on. I reached out to a private investigator, not someone from a sketchy ad online, but a licensed, clean background guy who specialized in domestic surveillance. I gave him everything. I had photos, messages, travel habits, and paid him up front. Within a week, he delivered everything I needed. Video footage of her meeting Carter at a hotel in Charlotte. Text logs pulled from cached backups. They weren't careful. They thought I was blind. I waited another month. 30 quiet days where I played the part of the clueless husband. Smiled, cooked, even bought her a new necklace. All of it documented. I wanted no doubt in the eyes of the court that I had made every effort, every last attempt to be a good partner. I even went to marriage counseling. Solo. Told the therapist I felt a distance growing. Got it logged, just in case she ever tried, to claim emotional abandonment. The final move came on a Monday morning. I filed the papers, had them delivered to her real estate office, not the house. She texted me 2 hours later, "WTF is this?" I didn't reply. That same afternoon, I initiated the bank asset freeze. Because of the evidence and the advice of my attorney, I was able to secure an injunction that limited her access to our shared funds. I didn't touch her separate account. I didn't need to. I just made sure she couldn't touch mine or what was still technically ours. Her reaction? Screaming voicemails followed by silence. Then more voicemails. This time calm, sweet, manipulative. She came home that night acting confused, innocent. "What's going on, Dan?" she asked. We were just starting to get close again. I looked her in the eye and told her exactly what I'd found. No yelling, no emotion, just facts. I recited dates, names, figures. She paled. She denied it at first, of course she did. But when I pulled out the folder I had prepared, the one I'd printed and indexed, she didn't say another word. She slept on the couch that night. Carter? He got served too. I filed for alienation of affection damages against him. North Carolina still honors those claims if you have the right evidence, and I did. Enough to make his brokerage firm panic. Enough to make his wife, yes, he was married too, threaten to leave. Alicia didn't just wreck one home. She started a fire in 2. In C. The end, I kept the house. The court ruled in my favor based on financial contribution and stability. She fought for it at first, but her own lawyer advised against it after seeing the file. I sold it a few months later and walked away with a clean sum. Just over $8,500. After everything was finalized, you'd think that would feel good. But honestly, it felt quiet. Not triumphant. Not empty either. Just done. And that was enough. Because here's the thing. Revenge isn't about making them cry. It's not about dramatic endings or screaming matches in parking lots. It's about knowing you stayed grounded while they lost their footing. It's about watching them realize the safety net they took for granted is gone, and you're the one who pulled it. And just when you think this story is over, there's one more thing. She reached out 6 months later, said she was in therapy, said she wanted to meet to talk. I didn't respond, not out of spite, but because there was nothing left to say. After the dust settled, the silence felt foreign, not heavy, not hollow, just honest. For the first time in years, I wasn't trying to keep something alive that didn't want to be. The house was gone, but I didn't miss it. I'd built it for a future that never really existed. Letting go of it was like closing a chapter that had already burned at the edges long before I noticed. Alicia moved in with a friend after the divorce. At least that's what I heard. Her name stopped coming up in mutual circles pretty quickly. I think people sensed something in her cracked. Not outwardly, not loud, but just enough to lose the shine she used to walk around with. Word got around about what she'd done. It wasn't public scandal, but reputations in her business are built on trust. And hers? That quietly began to erode. Deals fell through. Listings got reassigned. One broker she worked under dropped her, without explanation. People didn't need a reason, they just needed discomfort. And she gave them plenty of that. Carter's fallout came faster. His wife filed for divorce shortly after the lawsuit hit. Apparently, she'd been suspicious long. Before I showed up in court, my evidence gave her the push she needed. His firm kept him on, barely, but word travels fast in local finance. Clients started pulling out. I didn't destroy his life. He did. I just lit the truth and let it shine in the right direction. As for me, I took a break, cleared out my calendar, used some of the money from the house sale to rent a place outside of Asheville. It's quieter here, less polished. Feels like real life again. I picked up woodworking on weekends. Not for profit, just for peace. There's something about building something with your hands that teaches you patience again. I hadn't realized how much I'd lost myself trying to preserve something that was never real to begin with. One unexpected thing came from all of this. A message. About a year later, someone who used to work with Alicia reached out to me. She said she'd always suspected Alicia was mistreating me, but seeing how things played out gave her the courage to walk away from a toxic situation of her own. Different story, same pain. She thanked me for showing it's okay to walk away with your dignity instead of staying for comfort. I never responded, but I kept that message. Sometimes even your wreckage helps someone else survive their own storm. Now I don't look back with bitterness. I look back with clarity. I understand now that loving someone doesn't mean shrinking for them, and loyalty. It doesn't mean blindness. I gave Alicia the best of me. She threw it away. So, I gave her what she asked for without realizing. A life without me. She said she married down, so I let her do it again. But this time, she did it alone.